Hi Elsa, we're going to take a look at your tonal still life drawing. Starting off with the composition. This is a really nice complex composition with things on different levels in the foreground and the background, stacking things up with a little space here. You've got most of your objects at your rectilinear objects at just a slight angle, which helps with the dynamics. It's good to be able to see this line back here. That's the differentiation from your surface to the background. That helps create some space. It could create more dynamics if you were looking at this at an angle. That would help. That would just add one more angle happening in there. So overall, you broke up the ground plane very well. So good job on the composition. Moving on to looking at just the overall believability of forms, which gets at things like proportion and measuring angles and such. Overall, it's pretty reasonable. These cylindrical forms look fairly believable. You've got a little bit more pronounced, especially on this one here, the smiley face of the ellipse is more pronounced here than up at the top, which is how it would look. This one's a little similar, but pretty close there. Looking at our receding parallels, you're getting closer to these. But if we look here, these are getting closer together, but then this one's getting a little further apart. The same here, you can see this one and this one are pretty parallel, and then this one is probably fairly parallel. So this is probably down a little bit more, and this is probably up just a little bit more. And here you can see how low this one is, and we go over here and here. These are all pretty parallel. I'm pretty sure this one's probably at a little bit more of an angle. And the same going back this direction. They're fairly parallel. So just forcing those to get a little bit closer together is going to increase your definition of forms. Overall, your value range is somewhat full. We've certainly got some darks happening back here, and we've got a lot of lights. We are missing a little bit of some of those grays in between happening. There's probably a lot more value happening in here. Notice when we squint on there, it just kind of goes away. We lose the definition here and here. Glass is pretty darn tricky, but there's usually a lot of reflections and shadows in there that help define that. You do a good job of getting rid of your contour lines on here. That really adds a level of believability to the forms. Yeah, most all of that is completely gone. Your light direction is fairly consistent happening here. It's a little confusing as to why this cast shadow is so much lighter than this cast shadow, and there doesn't seem to be much of a cast shadow here. I know it's glass. This can get kind of tricky. It would be nice if we could see a little bit more of what's happening with the planes on this E. They're really kind of undefined at this point. Compositionally, you've kind of put the E out of the way, so overall in this drawing, it's not as big of an issue as if it were center stage and large and we couldn't see those planes. It could be really problematic. So this is a good lesson in context. Here, this is sort of minimized, so it would be nice to see those planes, but since it's a minor player in this composition, it doesn't really matter all that much. One thing that could really help your value range might be to notice your background is all basically one value. Letting that undulate a little bit would really be helpful. Like, where is the background different from these planes? That could help define them. Notice how this sort of bleeds all into the background. Defining that a little bit more could help this form, but also fill out your value range just a little bit more. Be sure and squint at your drawing as well. That, you see a lot of variation happening in this background, but when we squint, most of that goes away. So that's an indication that it needs to be strengthened just a little bit more. Overall, very nice job, Elsa. If you have any questions, let me know.